Thank you, Elijah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Christina Cardenas. I am a senior project manager with LA General Medical Center Foundation. And I just want to confirm our translator. If you can let us know that you are on.
Yes, they are on.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Great. We can get started. Good morning, everyone. I just want to acknowledge that our fearless leader, Heather Hayes, is on much deserved vacation. So we're just happy for her to be enjoying family and the end of summer, and hope that everyone as well has been able to enjoy family time and is feeling rested and has enjoyed this summer. So we'll move on to the next slide. So just wanted to review a few Zoom tech tips. This meeting is being recorded. It will be posted to our HICP organization website. If you have any questions throughout the meeting, please click on the raise hand button. And if you'd like to prefer the chat, you can also type your questions in the chat. Today, our chat monitors will be Elijah and Aurora. All chat questions will be translated into Spanish to ensure that we have adequate translation during the meeting. And of course, the interpretation will allow you to select your language of choice. So please, at this time, if you would like to hear this meeting in Spanish, please click on the globe button, interpretation button, and go ahead and select Spanish. And also, if you can select English as well. If there are comments that are translated live, we will be translating those as well into English. Okay, next slide. Some tips as well for our interpreters. Please, to all our presenters, please pace yourself. Speak at a moderate speed to allow our translators time to translate. If you can take frequent pauses to allow the interpreter to catch up, particularly between speakers, or if there's changing topics. Please project your voice, speak loudly and clearly so the audience and interpreters can hear you. And then if you could please use plain language. Humor, slang, and cultural references often do not translate as well. So please keep that in mind. And then just a quick review of our agenda. So this meeting will be from 8:45 to 10:45. We do have we're going to review some of our guiding principles. We have some updates with regards to Lineage Fire. We have a few updates from our General Medical Center campus. We always have a health update, we will have a wellness center update. Also really pleased to provide a little bit of a refresher on HICP. We do have a few tools that we are going to be sharing for new members that are interested in becoming voting members, just some instructions and links for that, and to share. And then we will have a few campus project updates and leave some time at the end for any partner announcements. So if you have any flyers, any upcoming community events, we do ask that you please raise your hand at the end and please share that out with our partnership and community. Some of our guiding principles, and these all come from our mission and vision document. All participants agree to basic principles, prioritizing equity, community resilience, and health in all programs and projects. Our participants agree to approach issues with an open mind, be willing to engage in dialogue, and commit to thinking boldly about solutions. Participants will state views and ask genuine questions. Participants will seek to avoid any monologues and arguments, move to conversations where participants are curious and seek to understand various points of view. Participants will explain reasoning and intent, will share how we reach our conclusions so that others can understand our divergent reasoning. Participants will attack the problem and not the person, organization, or institution. Participants will define key terms so that we can attain a shared understanding. Participants will share all relevant information, will arrive prepared for the meeting. During meetings, only one person should be speaking at a time. We will not engage in any sidebar conversations. And participants will work to developing comprehensive common set of information to solve problems and make decisions. And lastly, participants will jointly design next steps. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our first segment of the HICP meeting. We would like to provide an overview and update of the Lineage fire, resources and current next steps, resources and community events. In our discussion today, we have Waqas Rehman, Director of Infrastructure, Economic Development and Planning, Anthony Cespedes, Senior Advisor, Office of Supervisor Hilda Solis, and then also very pleased to have the Office of Councilmember Ysabel Jurado, and Pamela Agustin from Eastside Leads. So without further ado, I just want to just do a check on presenters that are in this segment. If you can come off
Hi,
mute.
Christina.
Hi, Davida.
Hi. Hi,
Welcome.
everyone. Davida here from the Office of Councilmember Jurado.
Wonderful. And I know we're starting with Waqas. Waqas, are you here?
I don't see him, so maybe we
I
can
don't.
I don't see him. Maybe we can get started with Davida. I'm not too sure.
And then Anthony. We have Anthony.
Oh, no, I don't see Anthony either.
We can do that. We can start with if that's okay with you, Davida. We'll
Christina,
start. Yes.
Christina, it's Rosa. Is it possible for us? There's no campus update.
Yeah, for this particular presentation, we have a time hold for both partners, of a time request to they have a hard stop at 9:30. So we move this segment to be first.
All right, perfect. Davida, you are up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. My colleagues, who are both named Ashley, will be joining as well. I'm not sure if they're here on the call. I apologize. I'll just pause to see if they are yet.
Hi, everyone. This is Ashley from CD14.
Hi, Ashley. Okay, great. So maybe we'll start just with introductions. My name is Davida Koren. I'm the Senior Legislative Deputy for Councilmember Jurado and Council District 14, and I'll pass it to Ashley to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley. I'm the Legislative and Housing Deputy for CD14.
And Ashley and Rona, are you here as well? Ashley Rona will also be joining us, who's our legislative aide, but I'll pass it back to Ashley.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thanks again for having us. We're, grateful that we're able to share a little bit more about the work that we've already been doing. And today we wanted to just present the motions and resolutions that we've been working on since, the start of all of everything that has happened. Next slide. Yeah. So we wanted to go over, and what we'll do is we'll go over each motion as we've introduced it, give a brief summary about it. We've also provided the council file, which you'll see at the very top left of each of the slides. This council file is useful for folks who want to go back and look, check periodically like where the status of each of these motions are. And so that'll be available to everybody. And then at the top right of each of our slides, we'll have a little bit of information on when it was introduced and then kind of like what theme this item comes from. And so we'll start with this one, which is the investigation of the fire's cause and facility compliance history. So we wanted to make sure that there was transparency around what complaints might have already been issued to this property, if there were any, and understand, where there could be improvements to prevent something like this from ever happening again. And so you'll see most notably, this came out of directly our office's willing or just desire to respond to that, but also because residents were seeking resolution for that as well. And so this specifically instructs LAFD with planning and the Department of Building and Safety to report on the cause, investigation status, and hazmat/refrigeration compliance for the property, as well as a report that coordinates with California OSHA's LA District Office and includes state inspections from records of 2023. And lastly, this directs the Department of Building and Safety and Fire Department to review oversight of ammonia refrigerated cold storage facilities and recommend stronger protocols. And so that was around our public safety response and introduced June 23rd. Next slide. And moving on with the next response that we had, and this is a transportation related response that we implemented. And so given the smoke that was in the air when this fire occurred, we felt that the best way to immediately and like just short response support residents was to increase dash bus frequencies in Boyle Heights. And so this was also introduced on June 23rd. And this was to support transit-dependent residents who we know many in our district do rely on our public transportation system. And so seniors, students, workers, and folks with disabilities, we didn't want them to face longer waiting periods outdoors. So we instructed the Department of Transportation to increase dash in Boyle Heights and East LA route frequency every 10 to 15 minutes, Monday through Saturday. And so again, this was just a way to support residents so that way there was not a extended wait period in the smoke. Next slide. We also introduced this motion, which specifically would transfer $6,000 for masks and air filter response, which is to support the ongoing distribution that we were doing, but you more directly through our neighborhood council connections. It would add $1,000 to each of the 6 neighborhood councils in our district, so that way they could support in providing masks and air filters or purifiers. And this authorized the city clerk to make technical corrections. So that way that fund transfer could happen. The $6,000 were from the Cal Arts Community Amenities Trust Fund. So that way these resources could be provided. And that as well was introduced in June 23rd. Next slide.
And we can go to the next slide. Thank you, Ashley. Okay. This is maybe in a different order than what we had, but Ashley, do you want to take this one?
Absolutely. So this is a, given the emergency, I'm blanking on the environmental emergency that was in place. We were trying to look at our district holistically, not just folks who are residents in homes or house structures, but we also were thinking of community members who may not live in formal housing. And so one way that we wanted to make sure that everybody across our district was informed of what was going on is to make sure that there was a suspension of encampment cleanups, just so that there was enough time to provide information and coordinate appropriate communication of what was going on, but also in making sure that they would have access to resources to whether that be connecting to a shelter or some kind of connection with LASA to get housed eventually. And so an estimated 4,300 people experience homelessness in our district. And so given that they are the most exposed community in our district, we wanted to make sure that we were handling that with care and dignity, so that way we could support a better facilitation of these folks to resources. So this motion required postings and notice protocols, so that way these unhoused residents were aware of the cleanups or are aware that cleanups would be canceled, and getting better connected to the resources, as I mentioned. So this was another effort of us trying to respond to the moment and really look at what our district needed, not just for residents who are in formal housing. And that was introduced on June 24th.
Okay, I'll take this one. So with the city, there is a program that is facilitated by the LA Housing Department. It's called the Handy Worker Program, and it provides funding to senior residents and low-income residents to support them with at-home improvements. And so once a year, that funding is allocated to various programs throughout the city, various districts. And so what we wanted to do is get a report from the housing department to see how we could maybe reappropriate some of that funding in order to support our senior residents and our low income residents when it came to home improvements towards smoke and odor remediation, window improvements, air filtration system, HVAC improvements. So this is seeking a report within 30 days from the housing department on how we could use that funding to better support our constituents. And something I did want to add is that we have a legislative tracker because each of the motions that we introduced has to move through the legislative process. So it has to go to its committee and get voted on. It has to go to council and get voted on. Then we have to get the reports and the action back. So we're wanting to make sure that that process is transparent. So what I'll do is I'll make sure to send that tracker to the organizers of this meeting to make sure that they can share it with folks so that you can keep track with us as we move these items forward. Next slide, please. Okay, so right now, the fire department offers certification to all neighborhood council board members. So this is training. I think they said it's about 6 hours of training that allow people to be able to respond to a fire or an emergency. And we found that this is a great tool for our neighborhood council board members. Though it's not required training that they do. There's plenty of other training that is required for our neighborhood council board members, but CERT training is not one of them. So we wanted to, one, see the feasibility of requiring our board members to be CERT trained, but also in talking to our Northeast neighborhood councils, it was clear that the CERT training wasn't very accessible. Often it was hosted on the West Side with limited hours. So we also wanted a report on how to make sure we can make that training more accessible to our neighborhood councils. Next slide. And I'm going to pass this to Ashley Arona.
Hi, everyone, good morning. My name is Ashley. I'm part of the legislative team with Councilmember Ysabel Jurado's team. So something that we heard a lot from residents as we were engaging with them through this fire recovery was that there wasn't clear communication during the event of the fire, and whether it was safe enough to stay in their homes or what was in the air, or what where in the process um, the whether it was extinguished or not, and also post the fire being extinguished, what resources were available to them. So one of the motions that we introduced in July was to strengthen public awareness and see the feasibility of creating some sort of emergency alert system during an emergency such as the fire. And so in our motion, we instruct LADOT, Bureau of Street Services, LASAN, to run multilingual public awareness campaigns on city services. Something that we've also heard is that just generally people or residents don't have a clear understanding about what different city departments do what or who to engage in whenever there is something that they see broken in their streets or if they encounter an issue, who to engage with. So we asked for like a general campaign of just services that the city departments do, and then, like I mentioned, a clear path to have some sort of emergency alert system about resources and status on an emergency if it were to happen again or when it might happen again. Next slide.
Okay, I can take this one. During the week of the active fire, when the fire department was needing to enter onto the site, we very quickly realized that actions were taken by the fire department and the police department that weren't to protocol. So several towings happened and they were impounded. And that is not what's supposed to happen during an emergency. And so we wanted to, get a report from PD and the fire department on exactly what happened so that we can ensure that when future emergencies happen, other communities don't experience what we did, which was something that was very frustrating for us. We were able to make sure that every car was returned to the owner at no cost, which we were able to do within the week. But really, that shouldn't be happening. So we wanted to correct that and make sure that the police chief put out a bulletin, making sure that all officers were aware of what the correct protocol is. And then we also felt it was inappropriate for folks to have parking violations and citations during this time, given that so many people were displaced. And so we requested a hearing that would allow for folks that did receive citations to have those be, absolved or not have to pay for those. So we are still waiting for DOT to respond to that, but it was a instruction we gave to DOT, the police department, and the fire department. So next slide.
I'll jump into this one. So as many of you may know, it's been longer than it should be processed to get this site clean up. And it has been a costly one. There has been local, county, and state emergencies that have been declared, excuse me. And so this Tuesday, part of the package that we introduced on fire recovery motions, this is one of them, a resolution to seek funding, regulatory relief, and resources for cleanup, remediation, and recovery efforts from our county, state, and even federal government. We're requesting emergency assistance with this recovery process. This is me again. It took a little over a week, like around 8 days, for the fire department and external partners to put out the fire completely. And in that, a good amount of water was used. And the building itself was very unique in how thick the walls were. There was like this foam, and there was concerns about ammonia leakage. And so in the process of the water being used, many of you maybe saw the TV news, and it was unusual for helicopters to be used and for water to be released in the middle of a residential area. So massive amounts of water was used, and this water has to go somewhere. So it went into our watershed. It went into the LA River. And so LA Sanitation has done some water testing, but they haven't released the results yet. So we have done a motion. We introduced a motion in August 4th, so this Tuesday as well, requesting LA Sand to publicly release any final results of any water testing that they've done in regards to this fire. It was something that was asked for of them through the mayor's executive directive. And so we're just like emphasizing and highlighting how important it is for there to be transparency around this water testing.
Okay, so for this one, we requested that the Department of Building and Safety not issue any rebuilding permits or reconstruction permits. With this, we also implemented an interim control ordinance, which would make it so that any large cold storage residential sites would not be able to be created, have rebuild, reconstruction, and that would be for an extended amount of time. Normally, ICOs are for a year and then can be extended to about 2 years, maybe a little bit more than that. This is, and even those 2 years is a short-term response to something that our office is thinking long-term. But in our immediate response that we're doing right now legislatively, we wanted to ensure that Lineage and the owners of the warehouse do not have the ability to continue as they were before the fire. This is something that Councilmember Jurado very strongly feels wants to put a stop to. And the first thing is, making sure that the cleanup happens as soon as possible and that we hold people accountable appropriately. And that's really the focus right now. Next slide, please. Okay, so the same Department of Building and Safety, can put fines and fees on property owners that are in violation of code, but the amount for the violation for a company like Lineage is very small. And so we wanted to first see if we could increase any of the fees and fines so that each fee could be anywhere from $25,000 to $1 million. So we'll get that report back from the department for an increase of a fee or fine. But what we also wanted to do is that in the event that we can increase it and that fees and fines are imposed on to Lineage, that a portion of the funding that the city gets is dedicated to financial support. So specifically, we wanted to make sure small businesses, residents, and workers that are impacted and not able to return to work at Lineage receive either a guaranteed income or some form of financial support that the Department of Community Investment has been able to facilitate. And so not only do we want to make sure that we increase the fines that Lineage faces, but also make sure that we dedicate that so that that funding is going directly back to the community. Next slide, please. Okay. Within the city, there is funding that is dedicated to emergency support, and it requires approval from all council members, the chair of budget and finance, to be able to pull that funding. It also requires the CAO, or I'm sorry, the city administrative officer to report on if the city is in a financial place to do this. But being able to activate this funding is a priority to Councilmember Jurado. So we introduced a motion to pull $10 million from funding to be able to support with various efforts around a mitigation response. So we called it the Mitigation Response Fund. This includes, sidewalk improvements. Since we're seeing a lot of rodents are breeding in the cracks of the sidewalks, we want to make sure that all sidewalks and streets are flattened. It's also wanting to use that funding for similar like financial support to go directly to the community that was impacted. It's supporting LA SAN and making sure that if needed, the city can step in and help with cleanup efforts. So the intention of this was to activate city funding so that we can give it directly back to the community. Next slide.
Okay. One thing that we also requested this Tuesday was requesting for the city attorney to come to city council in closed session and report back on any possibility of legal action towards civil action towards Lineage for nuisance, negligence, and code violations. This seeks a strategy to recover the city's response and remediation costs from responsible parties. And it also requests a preliminary total cost estimate and the status of the state emergency declaration funding. So yeah, this request is for the city attorney to appear in closed session within 15 days of the adoption. And something that I find, or our team finds very exciting is we have been engaging with community members from Boyle Heights for the past couple of weeks through a working group. And something that we've heard is they are concerned about just the long-standing history of environmental injustice in places like Boyle Heights and also East LA. This incident with Lineage isn't, unfortunately, something new. It's just another example of just the how close in proximity a lot of residential areas, or a lot of residents live to industries in the area, and it's just yeah, another long-standing example of the injustice that our community members have to endure. And so out of here, we introduced a motion to get a report back on the feasibility of establishing an environmental justice and advocacy advisory commission. Um, this would frames the fire as a larger, broader conversation of the pattern of environmental injustices in low-income communities of color. This would the city currently lacks a dedicated body for ongoing community engagement on environmental justice, and this motion instructs the Civil and Human Rights Equity Department to report in 90 days to create an EJ advisory commission. And this commission will include diverse community stakeholders, with potential commissioners being appointed by the mayor and council.
All right, I lost my mouse there for a second. So we'll just cover really quickly the next steps that we foresee our legislative response continuing to be. As Ashley mentioned, we've been working very closely with our community leaders in Boyle Heights. We've had these meetings hosted out of our Boyle Heights City Hall community room. And out of these meetings together, we've decided we want to keep this this collaboration going forward as we continue to respond. And so one of the things that we'll be kind of like focusing in on moving forward is hosting legislative working groups. So folks who have signed up with us during those meetings will continue to meet with us every other week to develop more legislation that responds to the needs of the community, given everything that has happened. And we've found it extremely vital and useful in our response. And in the queue for our next working group meeting, we'll be discussing finalizing 2 motions that came out of those previous conversations. And now we're just in the process of like fine tuning what additional instruction we need, or just kind of making sure that it meets the moment. The first being a LHD resource prioritization motion. And so this really looks at requesting or instructing LHD and requesting HACLA to expedite housing inspections. We know that the housing portfolio of our district, specifically in Boyle Heights, is a lot of older, aged, affordable housing. And so we want to make sure that those homes have the infrastructure that is required by standard of LHD and HACLA, and making sure that, with responding to like holes or whatever internal repairs need to happen are done and completed within a timely manner, as one way to mitigate the impacts of this fire, whether it be preventing the potential like flies coming in, or potential odors coming in. So we see this as one of those helpful instructions to respond to that. We have also added, increasing or exploring a way to increase fines for violations during this declared emergency. And so we'll be requesting a report back on that as well. And then our second motion is a LA sanitation resource prioritization motion. And this requests that LA San prioritize sanitation services such as trash removal, bulky item removal, street sweeping, and power washing for affected residences and schools in the Boyle Heights area. So we see this as another way of just kind of slowing down or stopping the impacts that folks are already living, and hopefully improving conditions a little bit more. And yeah, those are our next steps for this month and September. And we hope that we'll continue to produce really strong and impactful legislation as a team.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This is an effort that is going to require so much diligence and I think just combined community input. And so I do know that we appreciate sort of the tracker, and we definitely plan to keep HICP included in terms of any response and input. Davida, is there, in terms of uh, the collaboration, the community collaboration, is there a way to also for organizations and groups to receive more information on updates, particular to that, pertaining to this new group that's being developed?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe what I can do is follow up with you after for folks that are interested in being part of the legislative group. I can make sure that they're part of, we've been communicating mostly over email just to share information, but we will be meeting every other Monday at 4 p.m. virtually. And we'll likely do this all of August and all of September. And so for folks that are interested, tell me if this would make sense. They could let you know, and you can give me their information so that I can share the link to those meetings. Would that work well?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, after following our meetings, we like to sort of share these opportunities with our entire HICP community, and so that would be great. We could definitely have HICP representation, and would love to have a follow-up call to discuss that. I do have Monica Alcaraz has just entered the chat. She'd be interested to be part of these meetings. So I could definitely share that information, but of course, open this up to the entire HICP membership as well. And then I just appreciate sort of like, as you mentioned, sort of the precedents that sort of the policy and some of these zoning changes will create to protect communities, especially residential areas, from the zoning that really was hazardous. And so just really appreciate the long-term policy planning in this effort. Okay. And of course, if anyone else has any questions, please come off mute if you'd like to enter in the chat. But I do want to leave time at the end for Q&A. But I do want to pass the mic to Waqas. And we do have we don't have slides. We do have a placeholder. We do have just remarks from Waqas and Anthony Cespedes. So thank you so much, Davida, for your time and for all your incredible advocacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, before I pass it and we run away, I'll throw my email in the chat, and then folks are more than welcome to reach out to our team as well.
Before we move on to Waqas and Anthony, I see Francisco's hand up. Christina?
Thanks, Rosa. Francisco.
Appreciate it. I just want to make a comment. So I just saw this morning that Mayor Mamdani is going viral because people are tagging him on social media for random stuff. And I saw a video of him geeking out on how to replace a water fountain line in some park. I don't know how effective 311 is, but it seems like that's a mode of connection for people. It's a little intuitive. He is the mayor. He could do what he wants probably. But, I don't know, something to think about for y'all. If there's a way to facilitate interaction of residents via social media. I mean, it's what folks are using, for future consideration. He's getting pretty popular apparently for doing it.
Thank you, Francisco. And that's definitely an opportunity for the committee, to sort of, flesh through, social media, other sort of communication strategies in this effort. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so without further ado, I'll pass it on to Waqas Rehman. Welcome, Waqas. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Good to see all of the community partners here. Glad to be here. Waqas Rehman, Supervisor Solis's office, County First District. I'm her Director of Infrastructure Economic Development. I'm joined by my colleague, Supervisor Senior Advisor Anthony Cespedes, Anthony is actually en route to the site, as is rest of our office. So I'll try to be brief and cover. I know we are a little bit over our allotted time to cover this item, so I'll be try to be as succinct as possible. But I just
No,
wanted to give
no
you.
worries at all. We'll adjust.
Okay,
No worries,
no
Waqas. Go ahead.
problem. Thank you, Rosa. No, I just want to cover, don't have a slide deck here, but I wanted to put our brief summary in two buckets. One is related to this very high scale horrible incident started June 17. What's been the response, where we are at with respect to tracking the actual incident and response and recovery process, and then touch upon what First District, in collaboration with the county, our city, and council district partners, have done collaboratively in terms of the community response. So I believe we are in day 50 or around day 50 of this incident started, and I know all hands on deck, our entire office, including supervisor, being center and focused in terms of response and recovery. Community is going through a very incredibly hard time. First with the fire, now with the odors and flies and rodents impacts, to say the least. And the incident recovery is fully not over. As many of you may know, it's a large scale, over 500,000 square foot of cold storage facility right on the border of Indiana, which is border of East LA and Boyle Heights. Indiana is that dividing line, center of the street. So it's right across the street from East LA. And on the other side, we have our city, Boyle Heights community. So at the start of the event, right before the Juneteenth holiday, the very first day, myself and supervisor and our entire team was there. My hats off to a lot of my colleagues who went through the thick smoke and started providing resources immediately into the neighborhoods impacted. Those resources continue to date. We Supervisor immediately issued the emergency proclamation, started making calls to Governor Newsom. There were several press conferences done in that regard, and now the advantage of having those proclamations approved at the city, county, and the state level is the deployment of resources, not just to proclaim an emergency. It is an emergency, but that brought some needed resources. The county fire hazmat, public health, our LA Public Works, County Public Works have been the lead departments in engaging with the city EMD. This storage being in the city of LA jurisdiction, the city emergency management department has been the lead incident command. And then the county fire hazmat, public works, public health, and Department of Economic Opportunity, those departments being engaged heavily since the start of the event. So immediately after the fire broke out, which took about 7-8 days, big kudos to our firefighters, both at the city and the county level. But with the emergency proclamation, some resources came from the state too in putting out this fire, which I've heard similar facility in East Coast took 60 days to put out the fire. So it was incredibly challenging for several reasons that I wouldn't dive into. There's not enough time to cover all aspects of the fire, why it took 7-8 days. But to me, it was still an incredibly expedited way to put out the fire. But by putting out the fire, the other work started, which was clearing 85 million pounds of rotting food, which continues to date. We've been tracking it on hourly and daily basis, really. And as of yesterday, last night, reported about 85% of that work completed. We tried to reevaluate and recheck all those figures. There is still odor nuisance, and as of yesterday, the Air Quality Management District, who's been part of our almost weekly panel discussions at the County Board of Supervisor meetings that Supervisor Solis has been convening as the chair of the board and bringing all of the relevant parties part of this response process to provide all the updates. At the AQMD, when they initially joined, we asked them to really clarify what is the process by which community complaints are formally lodged. AQMD has a technical process, so AQMD helped lay it out during those briefings, and that resulted in over 4,000 complaints that AQMD ordered some was able to order a quick response to that and a demand letter, which went to their hearing board, which is a quasi-judicial entity, had their hearings Wednesday, concluded yesterday with issuing some strict compliance orders to Lineage. Happy to go over that if the time allows. But in summary, the county public health has also been issuing similar daily fines, which is 2,000. Supervisor recent motion, which I'll go over quickly in a minute, also provides a similar authority to increase those fines. The compliance coming from AQMD requires some more stringent protocols by Lineage in terms of odor control and community impacts. So following the event, the county had an immediate shelter site set up at City Terrace Park that remained operational, providing all types of different resources to the community. As I mentioned, apart from the City Terrace shelter site that was offering resources for community, including their pets, we have been in ground our office along with the county disaster service workers to provide door-to-door relief. And then that work continued from City Terrace Park over to the Civic Center, where to date, our team has been tracking all of the resources. So we reached earlier in this week over 13,000 mark of households. So about 13,500 households. We've been continuously distributing air purifiers, and the package includes food kit, water, mask, air purifiers, and time to time we've been able to roll out other resources like for families with kids, for diapers and other resources. But that over 13,000 in resources is through the direct deployment of quick relief funds from supervisor's own discretionary funds. It's about close to 1 million now that she has directly deployed, not waiting for any approvals from the county or the state resources. And that work kind of continues. We are out there in the community right now, canvassing on the business front, and that's a separate motion I'll come in a second to. But we brought in Airbnb, Edison, push Lineage to roll out more community resources. So far, from my understanding, the small impacted area that Lineage has come up with, we call it Area 1 and 2. It includes on the city side, Los Palos to Indiana. On the county side, it goes from Indiana to Hicks. It wasn't enough, so we brought Lineage to the table and asked them to increase that. And from now, they created another Area 3, which goes all the way to Herbert. So that is for some of the resources Lineage has been rolling out. I was able to retrieve some data to validate if folks have been actually, in fact, receiving those resources that go from, again, from purifiers to air conditioners to some of the utility bills offsets, and both with the LADWP and Edison, and also Airbnb resources, to which I say we have brought in 211, which is similar to City 311, is being a county partner to have a direct line to folks directly impacted in the area to book Airbnb. Initially, they're offered about 2 weeks, and then that's been extended. To date, when I glean into the data daily, I believe close to 340 families have leveraged that resource. That is about 1.6 million altogether. And that's been extended because we know the mayor emergency executive orders require Lineage to complete all of this work within 45 days. I believe that deadline lies within a week by August 13th or 14th, but there's still a lot of food material to be left. I've been myself several times at the site and gone in the middle of those operations, which are heavy with a lot of protocols and air monitoring stations, 6 or 7 stations, AQMD monitors remain on site with a lot of protocols related to EPA, the wastewater, with related to how the odor management is done. So within the area, which we call Freezer 1, which still remains intact. So imagine this to be a large, giant freezer, 500,000 square foot, with about 70, 80 feet high. The one freezer that remains intact, and I'm not sure if when I say 85 million pounds of food, whether it was half in one freezer and half in another freezer, but these freezers are giant. So imagine 3 mile long if you were to walk in a straight line with 70 to 80 feet racks stacked with food. And Lineage is a cold storage worldwide large company. So there was a lot of food material stored there. And when we hear 85% of that is removed, we try to validate it because there's still a lot of odor and flies impact in the community. In terms of Supervisor's recent action, she's deployed again dedicated over $1 million in direct response for small businesses. We know the businesses, a lot of auto repair shops, a lot of restaurants, a lot of local community grocery markets. They've been devastated. They've been feeling impact after impact of a lot of emergency disasters. So the long-term relief for those businesses is very critical. We have not much data to glean from what CCF through its 22 community nonprofit partners have rolled out, but this resource is going to go on top of that to the impacted businesses in the area. And it's going to come in shape of direct grants and, with the technical assistance to leverage those grants with the self-certification process. So that motion was approved last week, this week, Tuesday, and the resources have started to roll out. We are not going to wait on it, and within the 45 days, the actual assistance should go out to the businesses. That's the goal. It builds upon the $2 million grant our Department of Economic Opportunity is already working with the state. That is the worker rapid response. So the impacted and dislocated workers, included the Lineage facility. I'm sure a lot of local community residents and workers were part of that facility that's been dislocated and displaced. So helping workers and our local small businesses. That motion also covers some of the aspects our partners in CD14 brought up in terms of increasing fines for our public health, including regional planning that covers the unincorporated area of the county. To look at, we have a green zone ordinance already placed in East LA with a lot of community input and partnership that started about 7, 8 years ago and resulted in a direct ordinance that pushes a lot of this large manufacturing with chemical hazardous material, large warehousing, and other large industrial and manufacturing related operations that don't belong in our mind around the residential neighborhood to be pushed out, and the ones that are there to come up with a way to set aside some fee or a fine, not a fine, a fee. So disaster fund could be set up that could be deployed quickly. So it looks at those aspects too. And so our Department of Economic Opportunity is already canvassing out the area to, since the motion approved on Tuesday, for 2, 3 next days, and before that, they have canvassed the businesses, so that resource is going to deploy out very quickly. With that, we have also asked our LA Conservation Corps partners and County Public Works to enhance the services, cleanup services in the unincorporated area. We do have formal contract on top of the regular trash pickup services. So I just received an updated report on that, how those enhanced services with community cleanup, beautification, that we fund LA Conservation Corps through Supervisor discretionary funds, have been just focused around the Lineage impacted area. And then we have enhanced our bulky item pickup, street sweeping, street cleaning, and LA Conservation Corps community beautification services. So we deployed all of that already, and we continue to do more because I know it will take a lot of collaborative efforts and joint efforts to make the community whole again. And that brings to the long-term home remediation and cleanup efforts, which will have to come next. I know I went through a lot of items, see some hands up. I know my colleague Anthony's been on road, but Anthony, if you're able to chime in online or let me know if I left out some of the critical details there, and then we could revert to some of the Q&A.
Yeah, Waqas, thank you. I think you covered it all quite comprehensively. The one thing I might add is that we know that there's been requests with respect to data and getting everything, all the different studies in the same place. So our public health department has convened a work group to bring together all the academics, all the various regulatory agencies to make sure everyone's having a discussion about what they're seeing, what they're collecting, and making sure that it's all on the same page. So that's all I'd add, and happy to help with any questions that come up.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Waqas. We echo sort of our just resounding appreciation to the Office of Hilda Solis for just again her advocacy and just being able to allocate such tremendous funding, and again also long-term policy planning and relief efforts and relief funds. So we do also want to just open up. I do see a few questions in the chat that I want to make sure to address to the presenters. And I believe I don't see any hands up, but if there's any questions.
I do.
Okay.
I do see Monica Alcaraz. So let's
perfect.
go to Monica first, and then we're going to go to Edith.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Monica, go ahead.
Okay, so a couple of things again. Thank you, Waqas, and you guys and the supervisor for everything that she's putting into it. I mean, discretionary funds, not waiting for things to happen. I do want to say that I work in Boyle Heights, and one of the days I think that I came to see one of my clients in the area, I smelled death, and that's an awful smell. And I live in Highland Park, but I also work across the street from General Hospital, and I smelled it there. So I really feel bad for all the people there. I do have a question. How are we verifying that everything that Lineage and the partners and everybody responsible for, the aftercare is doing what they're saying that they're doing? And particularly, I'm talking about Lineage and anybody related with that building, that they're saying what they're saying that they're doing, right? Because we often hear, people saying, well, I haven't been talked to, or I don't know where to go, or that kind of thing. And I know that there's a lot of people on the street going door to door and talking to people, but my concern is, verifying that that work is being done. I trust the promotoras. I don't necessarily trust that company. Okay. And that, that's basically what I want to ask. And then also, we know that I'm sad to say that the supervisor is not going to be our supervisor anymore, but I know that we have somebody that's coming in, and has Senator Durasco been part of these conversations with the supervisor and how to transition into that, because we know that this is not going to end in a month. It's gonna be something that our people are gonna be working through for a bit of time. Not only that, the health issues, because myself, I mean, I was having like sore throats and things like that when it first started, because I do work in the area, I feel, but making that transition like flow easily so that it's not like stopped because somebody new is coming in. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you, Monica. You touched on some great points. Always appreciated your advocacy and work in the community. I'll take it back for some of your points that you raised. One thing I failed to mention was like our response effort that started with the City Terrace being one of the resource center. The resource center moved around July 4th holiday, I believe, to the Civic Center site, and now it's been operational daily from the Salazar Park. Initial hours were 10 to 5. Right now it's 11 to 3. So just wanted to announce that we activated from Belvedere Park. At one point, there were 3 sites simultaneously activated and resourced with our staff, and we also had all of the county departments. But now we have pivoted. Well, we have collected all of that data and provided those direct supports beyond the items, just other support that the community needed through the county relevant departments and the health screening vehicles that were available at those locations. Now we are working out of the Salazar Park, so that is still activated in terms of resources. So please put that word out. In terms of the lineage and their resources and other resources, you raised a great point. We could collect data, and everybody has put out certain numbers. It's tough to validate those numbers. To my end, I've been reaching out to them and holding them accountable for all of the material shared with us and the community. So they finally released a tracker that they have used in the area 1 to 3 I described, that roughly goes from Los Polos all of the way to Herbert Avenue. Northern end of that is 5 Freeway, and southern end of that is Union Pacific. So within that area, they have claimed to distribute certain items, and I've gotten a tracker for them that shows items and the addresses. When we go and canvass the same neighborhoods, we do ask if you have received any resources, and some of that data gets validated. But other than that, we have at least the information on what they claim to have distributed. So at some point, I think it requires all of the transparency and accountability to see if those items have been received by the community. We are validating Airbnb separately from the 211. We are checking on the Edison related utility relief directly with Edison. So that's one aspect to check on, at least on those 2 things. In terms of supervisor remaining time, you guys have been all incredible partners. I don't think it's time for us yet to say goodbye. We still have 2-3 months still in the office, so we're gonna push it all the way to the very last day. Knowing the supervisor, I know our efforts will go along a long time, but we are in direct communication with Senator Durazo. I met her 2 or 3 times personally on this subject after the big town hall meeting that was in Boyle Heights, and more recently at one of the mayor's convening, and she's been in communication with our office. I know the state session is about to wrap up, and something that could come from the state, not for immediate deployment, for long term. I think the home remediation and business support will require some long-term resources. So hopefully that comes through the state that helps continue working and making the community whole.
Thank you so much, Waqas. Let's go over to, oh, before I do, when I heard Monica, you say, and if I'm misinterpreting, please let me know, but you also talked about the monitoring of lineage. I think there's also been some maybe some information shared in the community by groups that maybe some of the food is not being taken out, but it's actually being buried. So is there monitoring of the site, like what what their flow is of, bringing out the waste and, just monitoring that they're doing everything up to code?
So just quickly on that end, Rosa, that kind of brings attention. Like I've looked at some of those data sets with respect to what's being moved on a daily basis. And these are bins. And a lot of this slow process has been, as I described, that one freezer that remains intact has 28 rows. And they're like racks that go 70 to 80 feet high. And these 28 rows, each row is twice the size of a football field. So altogether, it's 3 miles if you go put it in one line, and it's been done mostly manually. So there is not an actual equipment involved. A lot of the rotting food has been perfect breeding ground for the flies, and that's where our public health goes into monitors and ask them to put some sprays in there. We do get these, there are about 11 different landfills that are being set up to take the material, different types of material. What remains is mostly food from that freezer. And it's taken to also Varantes or public health, who's been issuing a lot of demand notices similar to AQMD, sent a latest one yesterday, requires all of those tickets or the tonnage removed that is submitted by the trucks. So in terms of allowing different routes, either through the city or the county, that work is done by relevant city departments. And then we are tracking the dump tickets, that are taken in. The process they're deploying right now is more labor intensive. It's not a lot of equipment involved. Like I said, these racks are removed manually, and it's been slow. As a matter of fact, yesterday I asked them to share some internal photos because, it's tough to see or kind of like evaluate what in this massive freezer has been cleared and what's remaining, and how after clearing that, how it's going to be sanitized. So that comes through some recent demand notices put forward by AQMD and our county public health.
And I do see one last question in the chat from Vivian. Where are the items being disposed, and is it impacting the site and its surroundings?
So, like I mentioned, there's about 11 different facilities. The only one in county is up in the North County, Sunshine Canyon, but majority of the facility are in Riverside. One is all the way few out of the state, one in Arizona, one in way out in Ventura County. Those are the ones largely related to the food disposal. The facility is not that old with a lot of asbestos to be concerned about, but originally when the fire-related debris was cleared, it was categorized into what was the scrap metal left, what was the other building material versus food. And those were taken to some approved facilities through our public health local enforcement agency as well as Cal Recycle. But none of those are within the LA County area, the only one Sunshine Canyon. And then the facilities like El Sobrante out in Riverside and San Bernardino, our public health has worked with the state to provide unlimited capacity, because that becomes a issue with the daily tonnage that could go into those facilities and with respect to their operational hours. So we have extended them 24/7. So Lineage has no excuse to say why the process has been slow. But again, they are trying to keep them accountable on daily material removed and look at all those tickets that come from the dump trucks going out to those facilities.
Thank you so much, Waqas. And on the chat, Jesus from Self Help Graphics shared a monitoring for the waste removal. So there's another piece of information that was shared at the AQMD meeting on Wednesday.
Right. I know we've gone over time, but I do see Miss Edith and Miss
Yes.
Jasmine's hand
We're
up.
gonna do Edith next. Edith, thank you for your patience, and then Jasmine. Go ahead, Edith.
Sí, buenos días.
Yes, good morning. My name is Edith Aguilar, and I'm a community worker. We've had the experience and the opportunity to be close, and I'm also from a neighbor, and this has affected me because I've seen the need of my community, the desperation, and and I've seen also that there's no patience. We're working very hard, all of us. Through my own experience, I'm sad. We fought a lot to be able to help these people, and their anger is still there, and I like for our community to understand that we're working hard. I am surprised that a lot of time has gone by, and every morning the smell is unbearable. I would like to do something, but we need to be patient. I worked in different places where we have distribute, air purifiers, and a lot of people have the need for more, but sometimes it's not possible. We would like to give each family what they need, but we're working on it. And I want to say that for me, I'm proud to be able to be a part of this project. Thank you. Thank you, Edith. I know that you and your team had been working along with Supervisor Solis' team from the first day. And I like to thank you for your effort and,
but I know we have our translator, but I was sharing that, just so appreciative of Edith, your work and what you have been able to do with your team alongside Supervisor Solis, Chair Solis's team since day one. They've been out there in the trenches with the, as was acknowledged, Waqas, and just the need it being so great. I know it's hard to feel just the need one-on-one every day, and yet every day the team comes back and joins your team and joins the efforts of the county and joins the efforts in community. And so just appreciating you, Edith, because I can't imagine what it's like to be in the zone, to work in the zone, right? And to be responsive every day. And you do it with such joy and strength. And we just appreciate you and the team very much. Jasmine?
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Edith, for sharing that. I also wanted to share a bit about my experience. I also live and work in Boyle Heights. Oh, I live in an unincorporated SLA, actually 3 miles from the site, and I became incredibly sick after exposure to the smoke, and I suspect to ammonia. I had to evacuate myself because 211 and Airbnb said they didn't have any resources for me. And that resulted in me not paying rent for the month of July. I wrote a letter to my landlord because I'm a tenants' rights educator and advocate, so I know my rights very well. And I knew that I could defend myself in this matter, but I know that many of my neighbors don't have that capacity, and so I'd like to continue advocating for them in this way. My landlord was told by DCBA that my experience does not exempt me from the contractual obligation to pay rent. And I am asking that the Supervisor Solis do similar actions following the Altadena fire, where residents had 6 months protection from eviction based on inability to pay rent. And I really think that that should expand way beyond the 6 months. As a survivor of a victim, or like, yeah, survivor of a fire back in 2020, I can say that 6 years later, I'm still dealing with that trauma. And every fire that happens, every fire that will continue to happen will continue to impact me, not just emotionally, mentally, but like physically. And I also want to uplift that I've spoken to street vendors in unincorporated East LA, and they've confirmed that no one has done any outreach to them. They are still outside trying to, make a living because they are not part of the formal economy. These people don't have access to health insurance. And these people are the most vulnerable in our communities and should be protected. So I would also encourage you all to do wellness checks to street vendors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. I'm not sure if anyone wants to respond to
I'll just
Jasmine.
check quickly, Rosa, just to wrap it up. And thank you, Jasmine, for your points. I've noted it down. Follow up on protection for the renters as a result of it. I know I live close to Altadena. Some of the members here live there too. We've gone through the Eaton Palisades fire and those impacts, and which you recover fast, you and your family. Thoughts for you, and any resources we could deploy from the office, we'll certainly do that to assist the community. In terms of the vendors, just want to bring up the one program I just briefly mentioned about the catalytic development funds from the supervisor and the county-wide business interruption fund, which supervisor helped create part of the ICE raids back in March. So that's a county-wide fund. Our first tranche of funding for the small businesses is going to go from our discretionary funds from the catalytic development funds. Those are deployed right away. So we will share the direct line where vendors, small business, micro entrepreneurs could call in. As I mentioned, our field team, our Department of Economic Opportunity, they've been canvassing from the start of the fire, but right now intentionally to deploy this program forward. So more details to come on that end, where the vendors and our small businesses will be able to directly call a hotline with technical assistance. We'll get the much needed relief. And finally, first district or county can do it all. I really appreciate the nonprofits and wellness center and all the partners who have joined in this effort and been out there to help the community. Thank you so very much for all you have been doing on your end. And we look forward to getting through this and making the community whole. Thank you very much. I know we went a lot over this time,
Yes.
but critical
But a
item
very
happening.
important topic. Really appreciating your time today, Waqas. And I acknowledging Madeline Lopez, Clinica Romero, you're mentioning the nonprofit partners. I know Alma Family Services. I know, the Eastside Leads partners. There's a lot of partners that are out there in the community. Again, in the line of fire, everyone is working to improve the quality of life. But without the leadership of Chair Solis, without the leadership of city and other leaders, we would not be able to continue the long-term work. And that is what we need right now. So thank you everyone for that effort. We are pivoting to a presentation by LA General Medical Center team. I believe Emerson is coming on. Yes, and Carolina, Emerson, Martell, and Carolina Hurtado. And then I'll hand it over back to you, Christina. But I just wanted to make sure we made the transition. And then we're going to go back to Pam Agustin, who's going to talk about the Boyle Heights plan. So thank you all for your support and patience in the rejiggering of our presentations this morning. Emerson?
Hi, good morning. So my name is Emerson Martell. I'm one of the emergency room nurse educators here in the LA General Emergency Department, also the HURT program manager. I'm going to speak about our HURT program here, which just recently got nationally recognized. It's like a little gem that LA County has for the community. When our EMS 911 system field providers need some hospital and trauma expertise out in the field to help them either extricate a patient, save a patient. It's like I said, it's not highly publicized in the community, but it is a team and a resource that's available to the community that has existed for over 30 years. So for acronym, we use the team HURT. So that's what you'll hear me say a lot, but it stands for Hospital Emergency Response Team. Next slide, please. So why does this matter? Like I mentioned, this is the team that is put together by our hospital to help the EMS providers when they need help for either prolonged extrications. Sometimes it requires surgical amputations to get them to the hospital sooner than later. And it is an example of a hospital innovation serving all the communities in LA County. Next slide, please. So the HURT is organized within the staff that we have working while we're on shift. It can be put together in a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week response when we're activated. We are activated by, like I mentioned, the EMS 911 system field providers when they need some surgical or emergency medicine expertise in the field. It usually is composed of a physician, a nurse in the field, and also a trauma surgical doctor. That is the 3 minimum that we send out to the field when we're activated. And again, we provide airway, sedation, hemorrhage control. We take blood products with us. And then we also take surgical equipment if we do need to do a surgical amputation. So it's again, it's something that reaches the patient before the patient even makes it to the trauma center. Next slide, please. So when it is requested, it is usually requested for these 4 elements. It's either for a life-saving procedure when the patient cannot be extricated by our firefighters, a prolonged entrapment, meaning that they are really good at what they do when they extricate most patients. But if the extrication is going to take, an hour or 2 hours, there needs to be some medical care being provided, and that's where we might be activated to show up on scene to provide this medical care. Also for complex like airway and sedation, which means we take extra medications that the paramedics do not have at hand that we use in the hospital so we can go ahead and sedate the patient. And then luckily we haven't had any incidents, but a mass casualty incident involving, again, hundreds of patients where they're going to need expertise from the hospital to help triage patients, meaning who takes priority versus who it can wait a little bit. So this is like in a big disaster incident. We just had the World Cup. Luckily, nothing like that occurred, but we also are prepping because the Olympics are on their way. Next slide, please. So how does this work? So once the field providers and 911 paramedics on scene identify a need for our team is activated. The field providers know that once they activate us, it's going to be about 30 minutes minimum by the time we get on scene. So they're going to be stuck with this patient for 30 minutes. So we always advise them to early activation if they know that they're going to have a hard time or they're going to need that extra expertise to activate us as soon as possible. Our target goal and per EMS policy is to be ready within 20 minutes. So that means we're going to don our gear, gather the equipment, the medication, and blood products that we're going to take out to the field so we can go ahead and treat the patients. On the right, you'll see the picture of our cart with all our equipment. The only thing that's not stocked in there, obviously, is medication and the blood. We'll go ahead and get that from our pharmacist and our blood bank. But everything else is already kind of packed and ready to go. And that's just the jumpsuits, helmets, knee pads, boots that we have to wear when we're on scene to identify ourselves there. Once we treat the patient, we can go ahead and appropriately give handoffs to either the trauma center that we're going to be taking that patient to, and or bringing the patient to our own trauma center. Next slide, please. So this is just kind of the picture of the equipment, the bags that we take. We have two big bags. One bag is the surgical bag. The other bag is the airway and sedation bag. We also take blood products where our blood bank prepares it in a quick and timely manner, and puts it in this cooler. And on the right, it's actually a picture of our last activation, most recent activation in the team when they came back after a surgical amputation. So again, just kind of going over what we bring to the field just to help this patient to get the care that they need before they even get to the hospital. Next slide, please. So these are actually pictures of some of the training that we do with our EMS providers and the field providers. We, like LA County Fire is one, LA City Fire is another, and we also have other municipalities that we participate in these drills, where our nursing team goes to participate in this. The most recent deployment we had was a motor vehicle accident that approximately 40 miles from LA General, where the driver was stuck in his driver's seat. Unfortunately, the passenger he had in the car expired from the accident, but pretty much the car was split in half. So his foot was stuck under the driver panel, and the firefighters could not get him out, and he was actually kind of ready to code. So our team was activated, show up on scene, was able to actually provide airway management, a surgical amputation of his leg to get him to the closest trauma center. Next slide, please. So this is emergency nursing beyond the hospital walls, obviously also surgical and emergency medicine being practiced outside of the hospital. We have specialized trained nurses that we call MICNs. Those are mobile intensive care nurses. They bring the emergency department out to the field, and they're actually the EMS bridge between the hospital, because we work closely with the emergency physicians and also the trauma surgeons. And the MICNs are also very educated on EMS protocols and policies and what the paramedics actually have on hand. So they're kind of the glue of this whole entire multidisciplinary team to provide that care out in the field and get the patient extricated or give them the treatments that they need to get them to the trauma center. So we provide a lot of education and readiness by doing drills, like from the pictures that I showed you in the previous slide, and also, getting prepped a lot of the times. What I want to mention is I've been doing this job in this role for the last about 13, 14 years. And out of that, we've had a total of about 28 activations. It kind of averages out to about 2 a year. A lot of those activations do end up being dry runs, what we call it. We get canceled either in the midst of getting ready, or we actually get on scene, but we're not going to provide any care because the field providers have been able to extricate the patient. But out of those 28, we've had 12 times that we've actually gotten on scene. 7 of those we were deployed, but we didn't provide any care. And 5 of those we actually provided treatment. 3 of them meaning we actually provided surgical amputations and got the patient to the trauma center. Next slide, please. So in 2 of the 3 amputations that we've had, obviously the most recent one was in November of last year. These are the last 2. One was in 2017 and the other one was in 2022. Our team was actually recognized by the Board of Supervisors and by LA County Fire. They presented us with the Valor Award as well. And these are just some of the pictures from them being recognized of the job that they did out in the field. Next slide, please. And so most recently, like I said, this is the team that went out for that surgical amputation from that motor vehicle accident that we had out in 40 miles from here. But as mentioned, because of this program and this interdisciplinary team, how many people are involved in just this one patient care, we were actually recognized by the Emergency Nurses Association with the Team Award, which will be presented this fall in September at the Emergency Nursing Conference in Phoenix, Arizona. Next slide, please. So what is the impact of this team to the community? Like I said, it strengthens our EMS system. Again, like I mentioned, it's a little gem of the county that is not highly publicized or put out there, but we do respond, and it is an available resource to the community. It is only two hospitals that have this team, and it happens to be the two DHS hospital, which is us, LA General, and Harbor. We've responded to more calls. We've been activated to more calls than Harbor. So kind of in the EMS 911 system field provider, we are kind of now the go-to. So we're kind of the first team that they look for, just because we've had so many activations, and we get ready in a timely manner, and we kind of have a good system in place, again, which allowed us to be recognized by the ENA. So thank you guys for having me and inviting me to this meeting and providing some awareness to you guys of what resource we have at LA General that we can provide to the community as well.
Wonderful. This is amazing. I think most of us are in awe. Did not know this was happening, and so this is just incredible, incredible resource and preparation for just, in time of crisis and emergency. So thank you so much for all that you do, and just look forward to staying in communication about future efforts and any updates as time progresses.
Yes, no,
You have a
thank you.
hand up. Sorry, Emerson. We have a hand up from Francisco.
Yeah, amazing, man. So I'm just curious about like how deep your guys' like scenario planning goes. Like, if there's like a mass earthquake and there's like, randomness, like what's your load capacity there? And do you guys have stuff like resupply ideas like planned out? Like, how do you guys go about kind of, like preparing for like the randomness that could come your way?
Yeah, so for that specific scenario, we're a disaster resource center. So we do have scenarios that we do kind of mock and have our team. And this at that point would be a hospital-wide kind of activation. And we do have certain protocols in place for that, because obviously we're going to get a major influx of patients, right? It would be 50 to 100 patients, depending on the location. But that is, like I mentioned earlier, is something that we were prepping and just kind of using the World Cup as a scenario. If something were to happen, how would it impact the entire system and also all the trauma centers? Because we wouldn't be the only hospital, right? It would be kind of county-wide. So again, we do some mock drills. We do meet for those type of disasters. The HURT team specifically probably wouldn't be deployed, because then we would need every resource in the hospital. So that kind of makes a different type of planning and a different type of response. This is more isolated to, 1 to maybe 4 patients on the same scene, that we can provide the care to all of those patients that are there with the EMS providers. And sorry, I just realized that my camera wasn't up earlier during my presentation, so I just turned it on.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much, Emerson, and thank you to the team and and the incredible efforts, exceptional care, extraordinary, heroic efforts. There's a lot of positive comments coming through, and again, just appreciating the strength and the partnership that you and your team have with the community that surrounds this campus and with LA County. So thank you all so much.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
All
Great.
right. Looks like we're pivoting. Carolina Hurtado, Dr. Carolina Hurtado.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here to talk about something that is dear and close to my heart. I am a physician here at LA General. Specifically, I am an endocrinologist, which is a hormone doctor. And I wanted to bring this to the community, highlight some dangerous supplements that are our communities particularly vulnerable to, because these medications have some hidden ingredients. And I have seen many patients with the consequences of the exposure to these supplements. And so I wanted to make sure give that the community is aware of them and how we can work to avoid our patients using these. All right, so most of these medications are marketed for joint pain or arthritis, and they've been found to contain prescriptions medicines that are not really listed on the label. So you can't really know that that these are in there, and we figured this out because the FDA has done studies on these pills. Some examples, and I would say the one I see most commonly is this medication that you see there called Artery King. But there are some variations that I think the producers have done to try to see if they can capture more patients. So another one is Artery Ajo King, Ortiga más Ajo Rey, Advance King, and this other one that we also see commonly called Artisans. So mostly what I want to bring to the attention is be cautious of any product that promises fast or miracle relief because we know that those can have these hidden ingredients. Next slide. So, like I said before, the FDA has tested these medications and they find that they contain some medicines that aren't really listed on the label. So the label contains a lot of natural products, etc. But we know that they have dexamethasone, which is a strong corticosteroid, which is the one I'm most concerned about. And I'll tell you a little bit what problems it can cause. It also has been found to have diclofenac, which is an NSAID. It's an anti-inflammatory pain medication, kind of like ibuprofen, and then methylcarbamol, which is a muscle relaxer. So pretty strong medications to be hidden in these supplements. So in general, we use some of these medications, but and they can be helpful when they're prescribed by your doctor, but they can be unsafe when people do not know that they're taking them and in the doses that we're unsure that are in these supplements. So, the other issue is that these hidden ingredients can interact with other medications and worsen medical conditions. So we want to make sure that everyone's aware to be careful about these. Next slide, please. So what are the possible health effects? So long-term exposure to these hidden corticosteroids or dexamethasone and the anti-inflammatory medications can lead to very serious health problems. In fact, we've seen patients admitted to the hospital, and we figured out that the reason was because they were taking these medications. So things to look out for is that they can cause weight gain, swelling and rounding of the face. And you see here in this picture, you see these purple stretch marks. Those are very common to have with this medication. And so that might be a sign that there's someone's taking hidden corticosteroids. The other thing is that it can increase your blood sugars or cause worsening diabetes, which is a huge issue. It also affects your immune system, so it can put you at higher risk of infections and can also cause ulcers or bleeding in the stomach, which we've had patients in the hospital because of that. In the long run, it can also cause bone thinning, weakness, and part of the reason why these purple stretch marks come up because it can cause easy bruising. And then it can also affect mood, sleep, and cause issues, changes in your muscle, which is part of the weakness. So they really have significant consequences, and we see these patients a lot in our clinic with this. So if you notice any of these symptoms or taking any of these medications, please make sure to talk with your healthcare professional. Next slide, please. The other thing that is a huge problem with these medications is that you can't stop them suddenly without medical guidance. Why? Because as I said before, these medications have this, these supplements have this medication called dexamethasone. This is a corticosteroid medication, kind of like prednisone. Maybe people are more familiar with that. And after regular use, if you stop the medication suddenly, it can make you very sick because this corticosteroid looks like a hormone that our body makes called cortisol. So it's very similar to that. So when you're taking this corticosteroid, your body senses that it doesn't need to make any more cortisol. So it stops making cortisol, and as soon as you stop the medication, then you have what we call low cortisol or adrenal insufficiency, which you could end up in the hospital with low blood pressure, needing fluids, intravenous fluids. So, if you are on this medication and want to, please tell your healthcare professional so we can stop it gradually, or we can substitute it in a way that will allow your hormones to start producing itself more cortisol again. So we might recommend what we call a taper, which is a gradual dose reduction. We typically don't use the supplement. We're not going to be using Artery King. We're going to be using something similar like prednisone, where we're able to actually quantify how much dose reduction we're doing. So just, make sure you bring, if you're concerned about, if you're taking any supplements, please bring the bottle, the box, or a clear photo to your doctor's appointment, which helps your team identify if there's any concerns with the supplements you're taking. So how can you protect yourself and your family from this and your community from this? Is making sure that you tell your healthcare team about every vitamin, herb, remedy, and supplement you take. I love it when patients bring a whole bag of all their medications to my visit so I can review it. And then ask your doctor anytime you're considering starting a new product for pain or arthritis. A lot of times this is word of mouth from one person to the other because they have these supplements have these strong medications. They do help with pain, right? So patients really recommend it from one person to the other, but then they're going to have all of these really concerning complications. I would be cautious with any all-natural products that promise fast or dramatic results, and pay attention to these names. Anything that has Artery, King, Ortiga, Rey, Ajo, Advance, or anything that says Ruma or Room. Always ask your doctor about these. And sometimes doctors might not be aware because, as I said, the label's not going to say anything. So just ask them to do a search, a Google search, to see if there's any FDA warnings on the supplements you're taking. So take-home message, please bring everything to your doctor's appointment so we can review and make sure what you're taking is not putting your health at risk. All right, I think that's the end of the presentations, and I'm open to any questions. I'm happy to work with anyone who's interested in showing this to the rest of the community so we can keep our community safe.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hurtado. Really appreciate all of this information. And there are very many supplements and things that people are just never aware, right, what they're really ingesting. So it's important to continue to keep, awareness on these topics. Pam, I see your hand up.
No, I just really want to appreciate you, doctor, because, as it's so common sometimes for me to hear my tias, my aunts, elders in my community who are like, take this supplement, it's so good. And they're still taking, blood pressure medication, diabetes medication. And today you just gave me kind of like a tool to be like, wait a minute, how is this interacting with your existing medication, tia? So just for me, this was really, ¿cómo se llama? Affirming that sometimes that fear that I had of what is it that they're mixing there? What cocktail are they creating? But it was very informative. Thank you so much. This is just a topic that I personally like just always thought, yeah, we should probably be more careful, but never really heard it through the lens of a medical provider. So thank you for the presentation.
That's great to hear. And, an easy way to you figure out if they're safe is you can just Google FDA and Google and see what comes up. And that's going to be the first thing that comes up if there's any concern. And the other thing that I get concerned about is that I see that these are sold. They're not sold in the pharmacy, right? They're sold in the markets, in the so really exposes our population in particular.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Hurtado. Appreciate your time. And we will move on and if there's any additional questions, we will forward those to you, and we'll have everyone continue to enter them into the chat. Great. So we'll move on to our next presentation. Elijah, if you want to cue up the slides.
We're not doing the Loyal Heights Community Plan.
Yeah, so
Pam, Agustin, thank you so much for supporting us in trying to keep on schedule. We are running a little behind, so just letting you know, we're probably going to take an extra 10 minutes of your time to circle out the presentations. But Pam Agustin's going to talk a little bit about community response to the Lineage fire to round out the presentations of today. We did go a little longer, but again, this is a topic that I know our community is very concerned about. Pam, you don't have slides, right?
I created a quick thing for our visual learners.
Do you
and I
do
can
you
present
want to
them.
do you want
Yeah.
to share it? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone, and please come back next month in September because Ina Morton of Council District 14 will join me and Jessica Santiago of Latino Equality Alliance to give you an overview of the Boyle Heights Community Plan, what it is, what has been implemented after 28 years of that plan not having been updated. So I hope you come back. But I am going to share with all of you, we heard earlier from Council District 14, from Waqas of Supervisorial District 1 on what our government representatives are doing, right? How they're leveraging their power, their resources to get the support to Lineage. But I was invited to shed light on what our community-based partners are doing. And this is just a snapshot of what's happening. I do want to call in that there are so many groups. We are part of the Eastside, which has such a history, a strong history of movement and relationships, right? And there's just so much response that the nonprofit, but also autonomous groups are doing. So I just want to shed light on what Eastside Leads partners we're doing, right? So here's an image that took place on June 25th of 2026, inner city struggle. Here you have Henry, here you have Señora Ángela Gutiérrez, who works with Promesa Boyle Heights, convened a press event, right, to share what residents are facing. We had groups like Inclusive Action, we had the Wellness Center in attendance, Latino Equality Alliance, so many groups who shared, what would recovery look like? And so this was the first press event that took place. On this day, these community groups shared publicly a list of 7 demands. And now these 7 demands continue to be edited. There continues to be ongoing conversations by the original 20 organizations that came together very quickly. And I just want to uplift it here so that y'all can see what are the conversations that are being had. Yes, sometimes being carried to spaces like the CD14 weekly meetings that they host that Davida told us. But again, this is a space specifically for CBOs. And early on in the fire, community-based groups were demanding really an immediate evacuation of those living directly in the affected area. We were calling on Lineage Logistics, the company, and our government agencies to secure hotel vouchers, transportation, food vouchers for evacuees. And I think today you saw how CD14 and SD1 have responded, right? Like in ensuring free bus fare, Waqas told us about Airbnb. These, however, need to be continued. We hope, of course, that the cleanup is done within the 45 days. But for community-based groups that I'm personally like in connection with, we see that the evacuation might still be necessary, or at least that residents are giving the resources that they need if they need to seek alternative shelter while the cleanup is underway. We wanted to ensure full and proper testing and cleanup of the site. And I have an A here, like a sub bullet, because now, maybe y'all have seen on the news, there are other groups that now encompass other areas of the county that are saying we actually don't want companies like Lineage Logistics in our neighborhood. We want to erase the history of racist land use policies that took place in the 20th century that still impact us today. So this is a demand that's still very much, like I would say now, over a month since the fire began, that really is gaining traction. We want to see an ongoing collaboration between city and LA County officials to work together to get and release emergency funding from the state. For we need clear and science-based and accessible communication of the information to all residents. We want it to be shared in multiple languages and community members receive the information. Now, Waqas told us today about the door-to-door efforts that his team has led, CD14 as well. Of course, immediate distribution of personal protective equipment like masks and air purifiers to community residents, small business, and street vendors. Just want to highlight that that is just not enough. Other comments that we have heard from community is some of those air purifiers, air filters are already done. They need new air filters. They need better quality air conditioning units. I think it's also about the quality that is being distributed, and that's the feedback that we have been getting. We want temporary and long-term protections for residents and commercial tenants that protects them from price gouging, eviction, and unhealthy conditions. 7, everyone must be able to return to a healthy and habitable environment by ensuring that property owners and local agencies take the necessary steps to mitigate the health impacts caused by smoke, ash, etc. 8, we want for, there are existing mutual aid efforts, some of which were started anew thanks to the California Community Foundation funding, but some of them existed before. And so we're just calling attention that agencies should support existing local mutual aid efforts, existing local emergency response. And then 9, remember I told you there were 7. These are iterative. These have changed. On June 25th, there were 7. Today, they are 9. And this came from parents, and this is a demand that came from parents and LAUSD, that they must work in coordination with all agencies to ensure a safe and healthy return to school and operations throughout the cleanup process of the Lineage fire. This, of course, will be slides that I will share with Rosa and Christina for y'all to have, but just calling attention that these are the conversations that the network of nonprofits and their memberships are having. It is definitely not all nonprofits in the area. If you want to be involved in these conversations of what, the local community-based groups are doing, you can reach out to me, but also reach out to Inner City Struggle, and they will get you plugged in. The other piece that I wanted to have for all of you to walk away is the resources, right? So the California Community Foundation received over $2 million from Lineage Fire, and they have distributed those funds. So the California Community Foundation is your, I would say, most immediate resource to go and to see how those funds are being allocated and what organizations are doing that work. But you can also visit the emergency website that Council District 14, SD1, and the mayor's office created. So if you were to have these resources, you click on those links that I shared in pantalla, and here's my screen, and it'll take you to this California Community Foundation website. You will see the local organizations that received funding listed, what that funding is meant to cover, and who you can contact and how you can get in touch with them. So you see here, Altamed, Barrio Action, Centro de Ayuda. Barrio Action and Centro de Ayuda can provide direct cash assistance. Clínica Romero, medical assistance, mental health support, air purifiers. I saw in the chat that some people still need air purifiers in today's meeting. My understanding is ELAC and Clínica Romero may still have air purifiers. Please reach out to them if you need it. So these are the groups. Again, similarly, if you were to go to the link that Davida shared with us in her presentation, you will see the exact same organizations listed, the number to call, and the funding that they received. This is how, I'm seeing the response, but again, calling in that there are other groups organizing, groups like Parents of East LA, groups like, just groups that are not necessarily nonprofits, right? But they are still coming together as concerned residents, doing the good work, spreading the news. The last thing that I want to share that I am very proud of to announce today is that Eastside Leads will be collaborating with other partners, and here's the invitation to all of you. Alliance for California Traditional Arts is a partner of Eastside Leads. Eastside Leads is a coalition of 8 nonprofits, and we want to do a benefit concert. So the benefit concert, we are working to secure a location. We want, here, for example, is a picture of La Santa Cecilia's lead singer who did a benefit concert earlier last year due to the ice raids for us. We want to bring local talent together and it be a place where street vendors can have a vending, where these musicians, I don't have a list yet, but we are working to secure talent, can share their talent, their music. It will likely be on a Friday. And the goal is to create an ongoing fund because we know that funds can be exhausted. We know that this may not be the first emergency. The goal of this fund, of this benefit concert, is to benefit people that live within the 1-mile radius of the Lineage facility. Now, again, this is still in its baby conversations. We are looking, here you see última semana de agosto, principios de diciembre, or the last week of August, beginning of September. Now we know, based on initial talent that has been outreached to, it'll likely be mid or late September. If your organization or you as a person would like to get involved in putting together this benefit concert, or simply you're interested and once the information is ready to share, you want to make sure that we have you in mind, reach out to me. I'll drop my contact in the chat and happy to collaborate with you on this. That is all I have for local organizing efforts and resources. Thank you. I pass it to you, Christina.
Thank you, Pam. So wonderful. And I know we also talked about bringing a little bit more information in September with some of these organizations that have received funding to just give a little more information to the community on upcoming events, just really provide a timeline and some just really great opportunities for community engagement. And so with that, Pam, if you can add those, oh, perfect, you did add them, those links. We will continue to sort of monitor efforts and thanks for everything that you do. Eastside Leads is sort of, really doing amazing work and just appreciating you for all of that. So, and everyone on this call that's part of Eastside Leads, thank you. Great, so we'll move on. We do have a couple presenters. I know, as Rosa mentioned, we are, because of the additional time, if we could just request 10 to 15 minutes additional so we can close out our presentations. We do have graciously received the permission of LA Care. We'll be coming back in September to present. So thank you for that, Adriana. And with that, just want to give the floor to Rosa and Melina on a quick update on the Wellness Center. And so I'll turn that over to you, Rosa.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And, again, very important topics today. We wanted to make sure to give time, so we will be brief. But we do want to announce that the Wellness Center, I know we've been sharing about this, the Wellness Center will be moving from the first floor of General Hospital. We will be moving to the 2 forecourt buildings in front of the historic General Hospital. Here's an image of the 2 buildings. It's the 2 white buildings that are almost adjacent to State Street, almost flush to State Street. And so operations for the Wellness Center will continue for the community. Our official opening day is Monday, August 31st. We also have a new address. It's 1226 North State Street. This is, again, just to support, our continued efforts with the community and ensure that our operations of most of our services will continue. So, Melina, I'll let you talk about the services that we provide, and then we'll take questions just to make sure that everyone is aware that we are moving.
Thank you, Rosa. Yeah, we wanted to make sure everybody knows that even though we have a new location, we still have the same commitment to community, and our navigation services will continue, and the warm handoffs to the partners offering services will continue. As you see here, these are our partners who will be moving with us as well. And that's a list of our services. So we will continue to offer legal assistance, food assistance, health insurance, and so on. But I think it's also an opportunity. What we're looking at is to see, how else we can expand and continue to help our community. So I will, I'll let the slide kind of speak for itself, but then I want to move to the next slide real quick. Some key dates that I know Rosa talked about is from now until August 21st. We do have programming that continues as normal at our current location. So I think that that's very important because we have heard from some community members, like, does that mean you don't have programming happening right now? We do. Our program continues. Our classes are happening every day. Right now, we're in the midst of our back to school giveaway. So it's really important for us that community knows we are still here. On August 24th to 28th, we pause about for our services to complete our move into our new buildings, and then we officially reopen on August 31st. And then we will have more details on an open house celebration to share.
Oh, good. You do have the 2 images.
Yes,
so this is what the image of the buildings looks like. So please look for us there. We will have a banner in front of those buildings so that it really feels like that welcoming environment right back into the new spaces. Want to appreciate Supervisor Solis, Chair Solis, and your commitment to us and funding and partnership to ensure that there is a transition space for the Wellness Center. We also understand we're going to be working toward a more permanent space somewhere on campus, and we thank also Centennial Partners for your partnership in making sure that our transition to this temporary space and our transition into a more permanent space is a priority within this project scope. So thank you very much for that opportunity. The South building. Go ahead, Melina.
Yeah, this is a look into our south building, which would be our resource center. The picture you see here, we're excited to share this because it's our first look at what our building is looking like. This that you see here on the left-hand side is our front desk area. And then on the right side, you see the hallway that's going to lead into our partner offices. So we're still, and then at the bottom, you see the nice historic like windows. So we're still keeping touches of that, right? But it's just really an opportunity to bring new life into this space. So we're excited about this. And then this is the north building, our activity center. What you see here on the left is the multi-purpose room. This is where all of our different activities will be happening. So our Zumba classes, our acupuncture, our chiropractic services, our rhythm and wellness classes, yoga, everything will continue to happen in this space. And then what you see on the right is our front desk check-in space.
And we're missing some branding and some art. So
Yeah.
hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to take pictures of that and bring something back to you after our grand opening. But we do invite you all to come and be part of the space as we reopen in that new space and continue to be a partner with us. So our shuttle will continue to run. It will be open at, in the same locations in front of our two buildings right on State Street, Building A, which is the clinic tower, Marengo, Mission, and Lot 10. So we are really excited about continued operations, a good transition plan. I can tell you, I don't have an office. Admin doesn't have an office. We're trying to find space for us in other places because our priority is you. Our priority is our community. All right. I think that was it, right? Oh, you wanted to highlight. Okay, so just 30 seconds on this.
Yes, just 30 seconds on just sharing some pictures. We're excited that we've been doing our back to school giveaway, and these are just some pictures. We've been able to distribute about 300 backpacks to the community and giving some air purifiers, backpacks, lots of school supplies for folks, and books and food. Yes, big bags of produce and food boxes. So it's been really wonderful to be able to do this. Not our usual large scale events because, but we were able to still do this and it was great. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Just appreciation. This was a partnership with our medical center. We got donations from Baby to Baby. We got donations from Supervisor Solis's office. A couple of the folks here were saying you needed air purifier. Contact us today. We can get you qualified and make sure that we can have an air purifier for you today. So again, this is an incredible partnership that we have with all of our partners within the Wellness Center, and then our medical center and our outside partners. So just appreciating everyone's support as we get our kids ready for back to school. We're a little sad that we don't have our big events right now, but again, with all the construction changes, we just wanted to make sure we could provide the service and pivot in any way we needed to because we're vacating the building. All right, that's all we had. Back to you, Christina.
Great. Well, thank you, Rosa and Melina, for all the extraordinary work. And we're just going to kind of round it out with campus project updates. I have the pleasure of introducing Parisa Dadmehr, Senior Capital Improvements, saying it wrong, Senior Capital Projects Manager with LA County Public Works. Thank you so much for being here and providing some updates. I'll turn it over to you,
Christina.
Parisa.
Good morning, everyone. I am happy to be here to provide a quick update on the Restorative Care Village Phase 5, which is a psychiatric subacute facility. We are about 95% with our construction activities. We have completed the installation of the exterior panels and window installations. The only item that's missing is the artwork installation for those panels. That's going to happen after the project is fully complete. We are also working on site work and grading. We're almost complete with that. We are very happy that we have power to the building and everything is energized. If you happen to pass by the area, you will see a lot of activities, quite a few activities simultaneously happening. So we're hoping to finish the project towards the end of August, within the next couple of weeks. And happy to announce that our local worker percentage is at 46%, and 30% was the goal. And the targeted worker is at 13%, which is above the minimum required goal of 10%. Next slide, please. I have just included some photos just to show you the progress that's happening. This is a view from corner of Zonal and Mission. Next slide, please. And this is this shows the interior. We're currently working on the site work, and there's just a lot going on, putting asphalt and concrete. Next slide, please. We are also very excited to incorporate community dedication, and it would be the sentence that you see on the screen. It's going to be laser cut into concrete. It'll be a walkway, and that's part of the project, and it should be completed when the project is complete. And this is, again, just a word of encouragement as part of the new facility. Next slide, please. This is also another element that we're very excited about. It's a dedication plaque for the former Women's and Children's Hospital site, and we're basically providing this plaque in the corner of Zonal and Mission to as a memoriam for the hospital that was demoed previously, and now we have a new project sitting on that site. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Parisa, and thanks for your great care and dedication for the plaque and those features.
Thank you.
Okay, don't see any questions right now, but we can definitely share those with you, Parisa, as they come in. But next, we'd like to move on to Giovanna Araujo with Centennial Partners and Prime Store to provide some updates. Thank you, Gio.
Hi.
Turn it to you.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. We are coming to you today with some very exciting progress on the General Hospital redevelopment. The redevelopment of General Hospital, its adaptive reuse, is going to occur in phases. There are many steps to get to that fully renovated building that's serving our community to its fullest capacity. The steps begin with the historic nomination, followed by, so that is a register so that it becomes a national landmark, followed by a selective demolition effort that allows us to prepare the building for a seismic retrofit. So those two efforts are connected so that we can prepare the building for greater performance in the event of an earthquake. Followed by a core and shell, which is an effort to prepare the building with mechanical systems such as heating and cooling, and repair the facade and get roof repatch and things like that, so that we can finally build the interior out with new layouts that prepare the building for another new type of use that is no longer a hospital use, but of course, as you know, very much focused on healthcare. So this first step, the historic nomination, the exciting news that we have is, next slide, please. As of this past couple weeks, so this would have been July 23rd, we are officially registered as a National Historic Landmark. This is an incredible recognition. It took our teams a lot of work to secure this. And what this means is that the historic legacy of the building is officially protected. It's a process that is undertaken with the Office of Historic Preservation. There's a lot of diligence involved in that. And by observing the requirements that they have for adaptive reuse, we're able to secure tax credits that will support the adaptive reuse of the building. So when this is all said and done, this will likely be the largest historic tax credit award in the country's history. We're estimating roughly $150 million in tax credits. So this is an incredible accomplishment. If you can go to the next slide, please. our teams had to build the case to show that the hospital is historically relevant. A lot of documentation on that, the 100 years of legacy, a lot of historic preservation research, photographs over time. It wasn't just a single form. We had to provide the offices of historic preservation with conceptual drawings about how we may lay out the interior, the entire seismic retrofit, so earthquake resiliency planning, so that they would understand what we're trying to do with the building. And it was a major team effort with our county partners, with our community partners. So we had, specialists in architecture, engineering, preservation, lots of back and forth with the offices as they were asking questions and we were answering them. And this nomination now puts us on the same register as the Empire State Building, Grand Central Terminal in New York City, LA's Union Station, the White House, and others. So we are officially up there. This is national level accomplishment. So very exciting. Next slide, please. So now, as you know, we're getting ready for our selective demolition and seismic retrofit efforts that's scheduled to begin sometime in September. Yes, Pam, definitely any architect's dream to be able to do this. Next slide. So the selective demo and seismic retrofit, we've already been cleaning out the building, getting things ready for it. We have now our permits and everything ready to go to get this effort started. And it is the first of those 5 steps, or the second of those 5 steps. So we're going closer and closer and closer to new life for General Hospital. Next slide, please. The vision here is that we'll turn the General Hospital into a mixed-use residential tower. So what that means is that the General Hospital is a 19-story building. The upper floors, levels 2 and above, will be transformed into a residential tower that we're estimating roughly 600 to 800 units of housing, with lots of amenities, like rooftop amenities, openings that really create a stronger relationship to the campus. Next slide, please. The housing will be a full spectrum of housing with lots of affordable housing, of which the community process is determining what that number is right now. But ultimately knowing that with a full spectrum of housing, we're able to create a very resilient and diverse community that is always at that local market rate. So it's accessible and supports the community that is facing, just like other communities across the country, severe displacement, but especially here, veterans housing, student housing, senior housing, really thinking about multi-generational housing and housing for staff, folks that work on this campus and want to stay here and be in proximity and enjoy the beautiful views that General Hospital offers of the city. So this allows us to be really innovative on how we can deliver housing. So that full spectrum is the vision for General Hospital. Next slide, please. And on the ground floor, the levels, 1 and basement and possibly a little bit of second floor, it would be the more retail and community resources area. So for example, the first floor of General Hospital that we know that and cherish, that hallway that's really colorful, we want to integrate that and turn it into what we're thinking of an idea for an interior street. So local shops, organizations that are servicing the community, strong connections to the outdoors, so that both residents, community, and others that are coming to visit General Hospital from all over the country can come and enjoy this building. And from here, go to the upper floors to visit some of the historic spaces that are going to be preserved. But really activating the building and inviting it to be a more integrated community resource. Next slide, please. And I think that's it. So thank you all so much. And as always, we're available anytime if you want to reach out to us, ask any questions, or just chat or pitch your ideas. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Giovanna.
Yeah, I'm going to say thank you so much. I know there's a number of tools you also have on your website that people can access. So, we'll continue to bring those forward and send them out in the, at least the link, right, in the information resource that we share back with this HICP group.
Yes, yes, that's right. We highly encourage everyone to read the community summary that's on our website that goes into details of the project. So that's a good place to start there. And of course, the master plan and the IR full documents have been released and are also available.
Thanks so much. I see Francisco's hand up. Francisco?
Yeah, sorry for talking a lot. So how does the tax credit work? Like, you guys just pay 20% less taxes of the total value of the building to the federal government?
So the tax credits, they work kind of like a reimbursement at the end of the completion of the adaptive reuse. So once the building has been reused, adaptively reused, and it's ready for being inhabited again, that's when we get basically a tax refund on what's been spent to date. So we would share the bill of what the cost of achieving that was like, and then there is what would be kind of like a reimbursement.
Very cool. I've never worked with or heard of anybody work with this level of tax credit. I think I've only seen state stuff. So very cool. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, so from here to there, everything that we do, we need to keep them always informed. So it's an ongoing process where we get green lights and green lights and green lights consistently, so that we're not doing anything that compromises that ability in any way. And that they're always informed and preparing for the moment when we're able to reach that habitation milestone.
Very exciting. And Giovanni, I know there's community engagement events coming up, so we'll look forward to sharing that with the HICP collaborative as they develop. And
we can send it out with the newsletter.
Yeah, that'll all go out with the newsletter. So thanks so much. And so next, we just wanted just to pivot real quick to partner announcements. I do want to just shout out Vivian Escalante with the Boyle Heights Historic Society in the chat. They did place a flyer for this Saturday, 8th anniversary on the 8th, August 8th from 5 to 10 p.m. at the Alto Mission in Boyle Heights. I apologize if I say it wrong, Vivian, but the Nicaea celebration, if you want to come off mute and correct me, but I just want to thank you so much for your leadership on that event and congratulations on your 8th year.
Yes, it's actually the 5th year. It's the 5th year of our Nika celebration, but it's also the 5th year of Boyle Heights Community Partners, a historical society serving Boyle Heights, where we landmarked Otomisan, and it's actually taking place on Saturday, August the 8th. And so we're going to have a beautiful community traditional Japanese style event. It's free. It's amazing. So we invite everybody to come on out and order a special chicken teriyaki bento from Otomi-san, because they're going to be actually having, the lunches there. We'll have our traditional taiko drummers as well. We have amazing presenters. We're going to have the Consulate of Japan, a vice consul rather, presenting. We're also going to have the president of Japan House presenting, and then we do our traditional Japanese sing-along with sukiyaki. So that's going to be always really fun. The neighborhood music school always participates, and we hope that all of you will be there. So thank you very much for bringing this to the attention of our community and all the visitors here.
Thank you, Vivian. And I understand partners can also table in future events. So just wanted to share that as well. That
yes, absolutely. We welcome,
resources.
all of our local, community businesses, nonprofits, and, such as yourselves as well, to definitely participate. If you're not doing it this year, reach out to us so that you can actually participate next year. This is going to be something that we hope to have for generations to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Vivian. Great. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for your time and attention. Next HICP meeting will take place on Friday, September 4th. We'll be back with regular programming and look forward to sharing the location, additional information as well in our newsletter. All the presentations from today will be also shared in the newsletter that you'll receive. And I just want to thank LA Care will be coming back in September for a Medi-Cal update and resource update, as well as the Boyle Heights Community Plan. So look forward to those two presentations in September. And if there's any suggestions or recommendations, we also want to make this a space where there is public health information. We always want to make sure that we incorporate those topics. If there's anything of interest that the collaborative would like to hear, please feel reach out to me. I support with the co-design team as we prepare the monthly agenda. And so would love to include any presentations that are of interest. So thank you so much for your time. Everyone has a wonderful weekend.